Hey, it's Mr. A, and this is a re-mastery practice video for MD1 measurement conversions. You're definitely going to need your reference sheet, so make sure you have one. I will also be providing a link to one just in case you've lost it or can't find it. So when we think about conversions, right, if we've got a really big measurement like a gallon, right, and if we have a gallon of milk, and we want to take that gallon of milk and we want to figure out, how much of that gallon would fit into a bunch of cups, right? And I think, okay, if I have a whole gallon of milk and I pour it into all those little cups, I'm going to need a lot of little cups because there's so much inside this 1 gallon and I can't fit very much inside of all of these cups. So when I go from a big measurement down to a little measurement, I need a lot more of the little measurement, so I'm looking to multiply. If I have 1 or 2 of those little cups, and I want to figure out how much of these little cups are going to fit into my big gallon, it's not going to be very much, right? So when I go from a little measurement to a big measurement, I don't need as much of the big, and since these are whole numbers, I'm going to need to do division. So this is going to be a really important key. If I go from big to little, I need to multiply, and if I go from little to big, I don't need as much of it, so I divide. So let's take a look at the first problem here. Number 1, how many feet are equivalent to 30 miles? Well, if I look at my reference sheet, I know that 1 mile is equal to 5,280 feet. So I need to ask myself, I'm going from miles to feet. So is it big to little or little to big? Well, I know that a mile is really big, and I'm going down to little feet, so that means I need to multiply. So I need to take my 5,280 that was given to me and multiply it by 30. Well, when you look at multiple choice answers, and they're all so separate, you can quickly figure out some reasonable and unreasonable answers. If I'm multiplying 2 whole numbers, my answer definitely shouldn't become a really small decimal. My answer still shouldn't get smaller than 5,280, so it's either got to be 15,000 or 158,000. Well, if I estimate both of these, this is at about 5,000, and this is already 30. I know 5 times 3 is 15. Both of these have a 15, but it should have 1, 2, 3, 4 zeros. And so if I think about those 4 zeros, and I think, 150,000, the only answer that is closest to that would be D. I didn't have to do any long multiplication. I didn't have to do any long division. I first asked myself, am I going from big to little or little to big? And then I looked at reasonableness. All right, let's move on to number 2. How many yards and feet are equivalent to 10,000 feet? So this time I'm going from feet and I'm moving to yards. So first question you ask yourself, big to little or little to big? Well, I know a foot is smaller than a yard. So I'm going from little to big. And if I remember, when I go from little to big, I need to do division. So if I take what I know on my reference sheet, 1 foot is equal to 3 yards. I need to take 10,000 and divide it by 3. 10,000 divided by 3. So again, look at some of the choices that I have here. And I recognize, well, I know I'm not multiplying, so my answer shouldn't get really big. I know that I have to get all the way up to 10,000, so I find it very unlikely that 277 is going to get me there. Both of these have 3,333. This one has 1 left over. This one has 0 left over. Well, let's try something. Can we do the inverse operation and see if our answer will get us to 10,000? Yes, we can do the inverse operation. Let's find out. 3 times 3 is 9. 9. 9. And what do you know? 9. 9,999 is not quite 10,000. So it can't just be 3,333. I need to add one more, which means that this B is my answer. Not bad. All right, let's take a look at the next question. Number 3, it says, write each measurement below in the table under an equivalent measure. So far, we've gone from big to little, and we did multiplication. That's what happened over here. When we go from a big measurement to a little measurement, we're using division. Then, when we go from little to big, oh, I'm so sorry, I misspoke. Big to little is multiplication because I need more of the littles. Come on, Mr. A, silly Mr. A. When we go from little to big, that's when we use division because we need less of it. So let's use those skills to practice down here. So this says to write each measurement below in the table under an equivalent measure. Some of them may not have an equivalent measure. I'm going to use my reference sheet and not even look at the choices yet. Let's just figure out each of these. 1 gallon, I know on my reference sheet is equal to 4 quarts. I know that 1 quart is equal to 2 pints. And I know that 1 pint is equal to 2 cups. So now let's take a look at all of these options up here. Let's start with the whole number ones and not even look at the fraction ones. 4 pints. Well, I know that 2 pints are in 1 quart. So 4 pints would be the same thing as 2 quarts. But none of these are 2 quarts. 1 gallon is not the same as 2 quarts because it's 4. And 1 quart, that's 1 short. So this one's not going to go anywhere. It's not used. Let's look at 16 cups. Well, I know that 2 cups are in a pint. And that there are 2 pints in a quart. Ooh, so that means that there are 4 cups in 1 quart. And since there's 4 quarts in a gallon, 4 times 4, ooh, 16 cups are in 1 gallon. So that one, check. Let's look at the last one here, 8 pints. 2 pints are in 1 quart, 4 quarts in a gallon. What do you think? Yeah, I know that there are 2 pints in 1 quart. So if I have 4 quarts, 2 times 4 is 8. So 8 pints is the same thing as 1 gallon. Now let's take a look at these fractions. Half of a quart. Well, if I have 1 quart, I know that there are 4 cups and 2 pints. Ooh, half of a quart is also the same thing as half of 2. Isn't half of 2 1? Ooh, so 1 pint is equivalent to half of a quart. So that one is used. Let's look at the last one here. 1/4 of a gallon. Well, I know that there are 4 quarts in a gallon. 1/4 of 4 is 1. 1 quart is the same thing as 1/4 of a gallon. So notice what Mr. A did here. I started with what I knew, and I simply looked at my reference sheet. What does my reference sheet tell me? Then I started with the whole number questions, and then I took a look at those fractions. And I just broke it down step by step using my reference sheet, understanding what's been given to me. So now that we have practiced a little bit, I want to take some time here, and I want you to attempt to answer some of these questions. So you're first going to think about how many pints are equivalent to 3 gallons, knowing that there are 2 pints in 1 quart, and there are 4 quarts in 1 gallon. So something to think about there. And then down here below, I want you to answer A and B as well. Taking 3 feet and adding 7 inches and putting that in inches, I know that there are 12 inches in 1 foot. And then taking 2 gallons and subtracting 5 quarts, knowing that there are 4 quarts in 1 gallon. Show Mr. A what you've got. I know you can do that.